y'all, this is Katie Sunshine, and this tutorial is going to walk you through how to create beautiful light paintings with your Phoenix hoop. First, I'll cover how to create just basic patterns for your Phoenix hoop, and then I'll go into how to create more advanced pictures to create your paintings. So from your computer desktop, open up your internet browser and type in no www, just pixlr.com/editor. Select Create New Image, and then a box is going to pop up where you can choose what size you want your image to be. Now, this is where, depending on what design you want to create, you're going to choose different numbers. Depending on the size of your Phoenix hoop and diameter is going to determine the number of LEDs your hoop has. However, when you're creating a very simple pattern, you don't have to worry about that quite so much. You can create just a small image and then the pattern will be repeated. So I'm going to make my image 10 by 10, and when it gets to the 11th LED on my hoop, it will just start the pattern over. So the pattern will just repeat across my hoop until it fills up all the LEDs. So you've got your new image, and the first thing I'm going to do is make it larger so it's easier to see. Then use your paint bucket tool and fill it in black, because a white background your hoop will read as white light, but a black background it will read as a blank background. Once you've got that done, select your paintbrush tool, choose hard tip, and then change your brush size to 1. So 1 equals 1 pixel, and then as far as your hoop is concerned, 1 pixel equals 1 LED. So once you've got that done, you can choose your color, and what I'm going to do is just create a very basic pattern that is a green diagonal line all the way across my square. When you finished your image, click File, Save, give your image a name. It is very important that you do not have spaces in your file names. If you need a space, use an underscore instead. And then it is also very important that you save your image as a bitmap image, because your hoop is not going to be able to read or understand any other type of file. When you're all done with that, click OK, and then you can choose where you want to save your image. To get your new pattern onto your Phoenix hoop, you're going to use the USB cord that comes with your hoop. Plug it into your hoop, plug that into your computer, then turn your hoop on. You'll see your Phoenix hoop pop up as one of the drives on your computer. Then you find your image wherever you saved it, and you just simply drag and drop it over onto your Phoenix hoop drive. Another way to save it is when you're in the Pixlr editor, you could save your images directly to your Phoenix hoop if it was already plugged into your computer and turned on. Now here is that pattern on my hoop. So as you can see, even the really simple patterns can be really, really awesome. Now that you've got basic pattern making down, let's move on to something a little bit more advanced. So open up your internet browser again, go back to pixlr.editor.com, and select Create New Image. Now this time, depending on the image you want to make, your image size is going to be very important. The width, or how long your image is going to be, can really be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to make a landscape, so I want it to be pretty long, so I've got this number set at 100. The height is going to be how tall your image is, and that's going to be limited by how much of your hoop you can see at one time. Now this is where somebody who's really good at math is probably going to laugh really hard at me, but I know that you can only see about between 1/3 and 1/4 of the hoop at one time. So my hoop is a 33-inch hoop, so I know that has 155 LEDs in it. I know 1/3 of that is going to be 51 and some decimal LEDs, and 1/4 of that is going to be like 38 and some decimal LEDs. So I'm going to make the height 45. It's somewhere in between 38 and 51. I'm sure you could do a lot better math than me and probably figure out exactly how many LEDs you could see at the hoop from one side at one time, but I'll leave that to somebody else. I'm okay with my estimating for now. So once you've got your dimensions set, you're going to enlarge it so that it's easier to work with. Then you need to select your paint bucket, choose black, and fill in the background black. Next, you're going to select your paintbrush tool. Make sure it's set on hard tip. Select your color that you want to work with. And I started with just a light purple to draw out my hills. Double check, make sure that your brush is set on 1 for 1 pixel, and then you can start drawing whatever picture you want. I started with my hills, colored those in, and then I started with the background after that. So I'm not going to completely redraw my picture from scratch because that took forever, but I will show you just enough. I think you can kind of get an idea of how I drew everything out, filled everything in, and then when I was done, this is what my finished picture looked like. Alright, I'm going to pretend that this landscape is finished, and before I save it, I'm going to rotate it. So go to Image, Rotate 90 degrees clockwise. I'm doing this only because all of the long images I've seen for Phoenix Hoop patterns were saved in a vertical format. Then go to File, Save, give your image a name, and don't forget to save it as a bitmap image. Once your image is saved, be sure to transfer it to your Phoenix Hoop by plugging your hoop to your computer with your USB cord, turning your hoop on, and then dragging and dropping your image to your Phoenix Hoop drive. So this is what my finished landscape painting looks like on my hoop while my hoop is in motion. Now, to create what I call a painting, creating the image and getting it on your hoop is only half of it. But don't worry, that's the harder half. The second half is taking a photo of your hoop using a long exposure. You first want to make sure to use a tripod or to set your camera on a couch or chair or something else that's not going to move. That way you're sure to get nice, crisp images with your long exposure. Turn your Phoenix Hoop on, and also make sure to turn off the shuffle setting so that you can leave your hoop on your image. I used a 10-second timer on my camera. That way I had time to take the picture and then position myself in front of the camera with my hoop before the shutter opened. Stand in front of the camera holding the hoop perpendicular to the lens, meaning you only have one edge of the hula hoop facing the camera as opposed to the entire circle. When the shutter opens, slowly walk or sweep your hoop from one side to the other in one motion, and this will allow every LED in your hoop to flash your image while the long exposure of the camera records it. If your image appears upside down in your photograph, all you have to do to fix this is simply reverse the direction you were moving your hoop. So, if before you went from right to left, the second time move your hoop from left to right. Or if you're working with a vertical image, instead of moving your hoop from the ground up, try moving your hoop up and sweeping it down to the ground. It will definitely take some practice, and I'm sure more than one take to get exactly the picture that you want. You may have to move your hoop slower or faster depending on the size of your image. You may have to use a longer or shorter exposure. But either way, have fun playing with it and creating some new hoop paintings.